What is going on, guys? Welcome to this week's video. If you are new to the channel, welcome. We do a lot of film photography stuff here amongst other things. And if you're liking what you're seeing so far, maybe like and subscribe. And before we get started, shameless self-plug, first link in the description if you would like to support your boy by going and buying a print. Thank you so much for all the support. And let's get into this week's video. So today I went out and I shot a roll of Ilford HP5, which is a black and white film. And this is my first time ever shooting a black and white film before, and just black and white in general. So let's see how it goes. Alright, so this is my first time shooting black and white film ever, even just like black and white in general. because I'd never really convert my digital images. But my goal for today is to get a lot of high contrast images because I feel like that would look best, as well as a lot of like straight lines and stuff from buildings. And with like the shadows and things going on in Colden Hour right now, I think it could work pretty well. But I'm actually already more than halfway through this roll. I've been going through it pretty quick. We are back in the studio for another segment of Thoughts and Talks. It's really starting to feel like an actual studio. I got like my actual setup, I got lighting, I got the prints in the back, so it's pretty sick. But of course, wanted to talk about the day of shooting, some impressions of Ilford HP5, and then of course go over some of my favorite photos. So to start, it was a beautiful day. It was sunny and it was warm as far as Canadian winters go. And there were actually a ton of people out on the streets. I was like in the Chinatown, Spadina, Queen Street area, taking some photos, and that kind of really helped, but it also kind of messed me up a little bit because it's been so long since I've seen so many people out in the streets that I was literally like distracted by everything. I wanted to capture as much as I could, and this kind of made me rush a few photos, but at the same time, because there were so many people, so much different variety of like different shots and compositions, I think it really helped with, you know, the street photography style of photos that I was taking. So definitely some of the shots were kind of rushed, and you can kind of see that because I was like, oh, that looks sick, and trying to capture it as quick as possible with a manual film camera doesn't always work out the best. And I went through the roll really quickly. I think it took me less than an hour and a half to go through a 36 exposure roll. Anyways, moving on. My impressions of Ilford HP5. I actually got these photos back and I really liked how they look, so I actually went out and shot another roll of black and white this past weekend. So next week's video is going to be like black and white portraits. But I really enjoyed shooting it. I think what I was going for was like really high contrast images. And that's something that I said earlier in the video, where I wanted to play with the lighting and the shadows and have subjects that like really stood out. And I think I was able to nail that pretty well with a good amount of the photos. And also with the time of day, it was perfect because it was like early afternoon, and in the winter, the shadows get really long and dark pretty early in the afternoon. So I think I played with that pretty well. The one thing I noticed about HP5 was, at least when I got my scans back, was that it was pretty grayscale. So all I did in post was just play with the tone curve a little bit, drop the shadows, pumped up the highlights a bit, just to get some more contrast in those images. And I think they look great after that. And lastly, we got to talk about some of my favorite photos. So I'm just gonna open up my little black notebook here because I can't remember. So So this isn't necessarily in any sort of order, it's just kind of the order that I took the photos in. So this first one of the shadow against the building shadow of a building against another building. Anyways, it's like the balcony being projected onto this flat wall. And again, this kind of ties into that whole thing that I was trying to do with like high contrast images, play with the lighting and the shadows, and I think I really captured that in this one. It's a really simple composition, but I just really like how simple and minimalistic it is. Second would have to be the skateboarders. I wish I caught them like a split second earlier before this middle guy got in front of the garbage can. But nevertheless, I still really liked it. They're all dressed in like all black, and they just kind of like cut through the intersection and then like ran up onto the streetcar platform. And I thought it was just like such a sick moment to try and capture them. Third, there was this homeless gentleman on the sidewalk here. Again, super contrasted against the white background of the building. And then even the building itself, half of it is in light and half of it is in shadow. And lastly, this one in Chinatown here, it's kind of when you're walking down Spadina in Toronto and you're going through Chinatown, you have all these like grocery stores and they put fruit out into the street and people are like going and shopping. And I really love this photo, the contrast of the white kind of shells in the foreground, and then you can kind of see the fruit and then the different layers of shells and food as people are shopping. I really like that photo. And lastly, honorable mention, these stupid pigeons. I was trying and I was waiting for so long to get these pigeons to like fly back across the sky and try to capture that, but I didn't. So I just got this photo, which is okay, but I wish I caught them more kind of like in flight. Anyways, that's all for this week's video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, hit that like button and maybe subscribe as well. We got content coming every Wednesday, so stay tuned and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.